You ready, bud? Here for a reason. Show the world. Let's go.
Tyson Bagent has stepped in at quarterback for the Chicago Bears, and they're winning. But where did he come from? What's his potential look like? And why are those close to him and some college coaches even saying that he's possibly about to become one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL?
Justin Fields is healthy this week. What are we doing?
What are they going to do?
From almost quitting football and becoming a high school teacher who did CrossFit to winning the Heisman Trophy at the D2 level and now becoming a possible contender as a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League, this is the story of Tyson Bagent. Tyson Bagent grew up in Martinsburg, West Virginia, where he played football and basketball at Martinsburg High. On the gridiron, he threw for over 7,800 passing yards and 112 touchdowns, earning him the Gatorade Player of the Year award in his home state. From the start, his family had always believed in him, including his father, who always pushed him to be the best. Surprisingly, Bagent's father is a world champion arm wrestler, and his dedication to being great in his own field inspired the quarterback to do the same when it came to football. Travis coached his son's teams and even built an offense that allowed them to throw as often as possible in order for Tyson to develop and learn the position of quarterback.
But at 10 years old, we had started throwing the football like crazy. Instead of practicing 2 days a week, we practiced 6 days a week, right?
He saw potential in his son and was the first believer that he could be something very special. Tyson Bagent somehow was only graded a 2-star recruit, and despite leading his team to back-to-back championships, he still received no D1 offers.
I had an offer from the University of Albany, offer from Robert Morris. West Virginia University flirted with me. Marshall flirted with me. Anytime it came time to pull the trigger, they didn't. They had their doubts.
How could all of these premier colleges just let this gunslinger fly under the radar and go unnoticed after this type of resume? And while not knowing what to do next, he still had a passion for football. So he chose D2 as the route he would take and landed at Shepherd University, a local school in Shepherdstown, West Virginia, where he won the starting quarterback role as a freshman. His dedication to preparation and being the very best version of himself is profound. Bagent threw for 3,029 yards in his freshman year with 29 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. The following year, he helped the team to win 9 games and drastically improved on his own output, increasing to 4,349 passing yards and 36 touchdowns. But it was his final 2 seasons that really had those paying attention in awe. A now far more experienced version of Tyson Bagent reached 5,000 passing yards in 2021 and threw for 53 touchdown passes in what was an outstanding year for the Shepherd quarterback. And it was at this moment that he knew he would have a shot at making it to D1. So Bagent entered the transfer portal and took visits to both West Virginia and Maryland.
I put in so much work and put up such good numbers and been a proven winner. So I got offered by the University of Albany and the University of Robert Morris.
Those teams didn't exactly have the win-loss records that we were looking for. So we waited desperately for WVU to come.
And while D1 would have been a step up for him, he was far from guaranteed playing time, and that was just a risk he couldn't afford to take after building such an impressive resume up to that point. So in a shocking decision, back to Shepherd it was for the gunslinger, and came back as a senior to throw for another 4,580 passing yards and 41 more touchdowns. I mean, these numbers he's putting up are insane. He amassed for over 17,000 passing yards in 4 seasons and a whopping 159 passing touchdowns. How does a guy who threw 159 touchdown passes go undrafted? Bryce Young threw 68, CJ Stroud threw 75. I mean, Tyson Bagent beat the 2 of them combined. But you see, that's what the problem is. It was the level of competition, as is often the case with Division II standout talent. Can they do it against the very best in the game, like those who play in the SEC every week or face the likes of Georgia, Alabama, Michigan in big college games? Tyson Bagent didn't have the chance, but his offensive coordinator, Tyler Haynes, was on a mission to tell NFL scouts just who his quarterback was and why they should take a chance on him. Bagent's makeup is pure dedication and preparation. Haynes explained that he was the ultimate competitor. While his teammates were out having fun or playing video games, Bagent was sitting in a freezing cold stream, helping his body recover, ready for the next game.
It's overcoming that feat. So the more voluntary suffering I can absorb myself into, the more I'll be able to handle, whether that be in life or in football. From where I am coming from, getting my foot in the door is all I could ever ask for.
It was these characteristics that Tyler Haynes wanted NFL teams to know about. He spoke to scouts from every single team in the league, and you know which team was the only one that paid attention? The Bears. Hell, in a game against Kutztown, Shepard had fallen behind 21-14. Haynes describes it as one of Bagent's most inspirational performances, leading the team back to a win and picking up 456 passing yards and 4 touchdowns along the way. And can you guess who was at that game? Scouts from the Chicago Bears, of course. They were watching him. Coming from Division II, it's tough to earn the respect of the NFL. Blue chip programs are putting out highly productive talent into the league year after year, while a school like Shepard has had just 6 players make it to the NFL in their history, Bagent being one of them. I mean, hell, the only other player to be drafted out of Shepard was a running back by the name of Wayne Wilson from like the 80s or something. Outside of him, the program name has never been called in the NFL draft. And the same was said for Bagent when he went undrafted and wouldn't hear his name called during this past draft in April.
Do think that every single name that goes before him is a drastic mistake. But if he is the last pick in the draft, you're not going to be able to tell from the party and the celebration that he wasn't, in fact, the #1 pick in the draft.
But in a shocking turn of events in May, Tyson had received a phone call from, you guessed it, the Chicago Bears.
Before the draft was over, they gave me the call. Very emotional day. You realize that you've pretty much accomplished the impossible. You think about all the hours and the hard work just to get to this point, and then just being so happy that you're being rewarded with something you've wanted ever since you were a little kid.
And after years of going under the radar and having outrageous stat lines, the dream of being in the NFL would come true for Tyson and was signed to the team. And during the preseason, he had once again begun turning heads. He had proved everyone wrong and had made that 53-man roster. And if we're being honest, since taking over the starting role, the offense has looked efficient with him out there. And although the coaching staff has called a relatively safe game for him and limited his exposure to throwing downfield, there's plenty to get excited about.
Let's not forget that Bagent did lay a beautiful dime in the end zone to Moore that hit him in the hands and got dropped. So that should have been on his stat sheet too.
Yeah. Chicago has been begging for a great story at quarterback. So just imagine what it would be like for this undrafted rookie quarterback out of Shepherd University to turn into a top 10 Chicago Bears quarterback of all time. Now, what makes this story particularly intriguing is because we've seen this exact same scenario play out in San Francisco. Trey Lance, who had struggled to make an impact, goes down injured, allowing his backup, Brock Purdy, a chance to show what he can do. And next thing you know, Purdy comes in, wins over the crowd, the organization, and before you know it, Trey Lance is no longer a Niner, and Brock Purdy is the starting quarterback in the NFL. That's where the impossible task of trying to grade a guy like Tyson Bagent comes from. He might not have been drafted, but Tyson Bagent got exactly what he needed. All he wanted was a chance, and his path here hasn't been just given to him. PJ Walker has had his fair share of experience. He's been a pro since 2017, went to the XFL, and impressed there before returning to the NFL and making several starts at multiple franchises. Chicago picked him up in March of 2023 as a viable backup quarterback to Justin Fields. He's athletic, could take off and run, and ultimately was a perfect option as the team's backup. Enter Tyson Bagent, who not only earned a spot on the roster, but beat out Walker for the backup role. Let's not overlook how important this is. This undrafted Division II quarterback with 0 reps in the league was impressive enough that the Bears kept him around and cut PJ Walker before the first season of his 2-year deal had even begun. Bagent made some nice plays in the preseason, and his staff had seen enough to make him the backup quarterback. That just doesn't happen that often. The backup quarterback job is not just a guy waiting to play. He has responsibilities to help prepare the starter and work on the sidelines to read defensive cues and so much more. The Bears believed in Bagent, and it's paying off for both sides now.
Definitely had nerves today. I appreciate Coach looking out for me. Not so much so that I might have needed that, but that's just one example of everybody that's been looking out for me this week and having my back.
And this may just be the beginning of something special. I mean, just look at the kid in his first NFL start against the Raiders. Bagent came out to run the offense as his parents cheered him on from the stands. Chicago worked to establish the run game on early, but as the young rookie got comfortable in starting throwing the football, his talent was clear. Bagent looked particularly good when the play broke down and he had to move out of the pocket. He kept his eyes downfield the entire time and made a couple of really nice plays on the run run to get first downs against the Raiders defense. He didn't throw a single ball into trouble, 21 completions on 29 throws for 162 yards and a touchdown. And most importantly, the win. And now look, Bears fans, Justin Fields is in his 3rd season with the team, and so far, he just hasn't done enough to earn himself an extension. Chicago has 2 first-round picks, which they could easily use on a quarterback like Caleb Williams or even Drake May. Or they could sell out of those picks for a big return that would help continue to build a roster for the future success around Bagent. I mean, Chicago already got a haul for the pick that turned into Bryce Young for the Carolina Panthers, and with the Panthers now struggling in 2023, that first rounder could have a lot of value, especially if the Chicago Bears believe they've found themselves a hidden gem in the kid from West Virginia, and they don't need to draft a quarterback. But what do I know? Surely the Bears aren't going to pass on Caleb Williams for this rookie though, right? So what happens next? Does Tyson Bagent go on a winning streak and give the Chicago Bears a very welcome headache of who to choose at the quarterback spot as they approach the pivotal offseason? Could this undrafted Division II kid out of West Virginia really be a future starting quarterback for an NFL franchise? Only time will tell.